Hi, guys. I am Brandon Sewell, the owner of Seal Pro Painting in Central Florida and the host of the Off the Ladder podcast. Our mission is to help home service business owners learn so that they can lead well and ultimately live life off of the ladder. Today's guest is Judith. She is the owner of Club Calgary. They do residential and commercial cleaning services. She's been in business for 15 years. She's based out of Calgary. They service Canada, obviously. She has 17 employees, and they have an annual Is your annual revenue 1 million, or is your net profit 1 million? Annual revenue of 1 million.
I wish net
profit. Right. Here's a quick bio about Judith. She was born and raised in Budapest, Hungary. They were refugees and immigrated to Calgary, Alberta, Canada in 1989 with her parents. She met her husband online in 2000, and he immigrated to Canada in 2000. They don't have any kids, but they have a cat. Her hobby is to take care of herself and, in all seriousness, spending time with her family, friends, and entertaining. She loves cooking. And then her why, as far as why she's in business, has changed over the years, but it started off when she started her business just to get out of corporate and have more flexible time. Now she's very involved with newcomers to Canada, as once she experienced what it is like to not speak English and being brand new to a country. She wants to offer a safe and stable place of work to people whom get turned away because they don't speak the language or have no Canadian work experience. So welcome to the show, Judith. It's a pleasure to have you. So if you could, for our listeners, could you go into just the story, the background of how you really got started in business, what that looked like? Were you working out, doing the cleaning yourself at one point? What did that look like for you?
Hi, thank you so much for having me on the podcast. I started cleaning very early. I have a really crazy, very meticulous Hungarian mother. So cleaning in our household was always super, super important, and tidying and everything. And she dealt with the tomboy, and I literally would come home and I would lose the key in my neck. I would lose the gloves that were sewn into my jacket, and I was dirty all the time, and I was hanging out with my grandfather with the boys and everything. So that's kind of like the background. She had a really hard time, but just to parents out there, consistency really works, because she definitely was very consistent with me about, being a girl. And not only being a girl, just, taking care of myself and, presenting myself properly and things like that. And then we came to Canada, and then eventually I started working as a receptionist. And then I actually moved back to Hungary, and I worked for Citibank in Hungary, in Budapest, for four years. And I was an executive assistant. And then I came back because I really missed mom and dad. We were really close. And I worked more in corporate. I had very high positions with very big multinational companies. But eventually I just got burnt out. And then also things landed on my desk that were not my responsibility. So accountability is really big for me. If you assign something to me, I'll get it done. I'm really the person who gets things done. I'm really hard worker, and I'm really proud of that. And I said, you know what? I'm just gonna go cleaning. Because I really wanted that freedom. And I never forget the very first time when I got out of bed, because we were sponsored by the Canadian government. So I still have my alarm clock, and this is really old school. So you need two hands to turn it off. And I got out of bed and I wanted to turn it off. And I was like, what am I doing? I don't ever have to do that again. So just the freedom, right? And I just went and cleaned on my own. But because I worked for really big companies, really high up, I knew a lot of, people who can afford cleaning. And then also they found out that I was cleaning and, we trust Judith. So come and clean our house. So within a year, I had to hire. And then I spent a lot more years on the broom, as we say it. But eventually I got out of it. I'm gonna say probably the last 4 or 5 years, and I've been in business for 15, where I haven't really cleaned seriously. Sometimes I still jump back on the broom, just because I'll be honest with you, I think it's different how my team looks at me when they know that I can do what they can do easily.
Sure.
Kind of, that's my story. Yeah.
That's really good. One of the questions that I wanted to ask is, being in business for 10 years before you made that switch to getting off of the broom, as you say, can you kind of talk to the audience about what was the mindset shift that took place for you to say, okay, maybe it was saying, okay, in order for us to grow, I have to get out of the field so that I can really focus on growing my business. What was the mindset shift that took place, and what really pushed you into that place where you were running your business?
So I just want to back up a little bit
Yeah,
before
sure.
that. So in cleaning, in the business world of cleaning, um, what happens is you're a good cleaner, and then all of a sudden you start to get being referred, and then that's the next step. The next step for me was family and friends. If I can say no to that, I think a lot of us had made that mistake. And not that we don't adore our friends and family, but being in a working relationship with them is really, really different, and it's really difficult most of the time on you, as the owner. So I kind of did that, and then the transition for me was really I was good at both, because I had this extensive admin background. So a lot of cleaning business owners, or any kind of service business owners, struggle with that. They really, really struggle. And I already had that extensive corporate background. So I had background in, because I was an executive assistant. When you're an executive assistant, the best case scenario, which was for me, you're a right hand to somebody who's very smart, very important, and very good at what they do. So I had a first seat to learn from people that are that they are the cream of the crop, right? So I was able to, I had marketing experience, I had sales experience, I had definitely human resources experience, because throughout my journey I also was, coached to become a leader, and also I led people, like one of PricewaterhouseCoopers, I was a team lead of, and I led a group of 10, right? So that's my background. So I think for me it was easier to make that transition, to say, okay, I'm not going to focus on the cleaning, because that's not the best use of my time. And then also, as owners, you always have to figure out, okay, what is my hourly rate? Is it worth it for me to do sales, or is it worth it for me to do social media, or get bogged down by things that you don't know, like SEO? Like, let's be honest, like social media, anything to do with the web, it's like you have to be a professional at it. Do you really have time to train yourself to be a professional at it? Because then your business suffers. That's not your focus, right? So that was my mindset. It's like, okay, I can hire somebody to do this, like at 15, 16, 17 bucks an hour. And at that time, my hourly rate was already like 50 or 60 bucks an hour. So it totally makes sense, right? Where do you want to put your focus?
Yeah. And I think that's probably something that, like you said, you came from a corporate background, you had training in leadership. So you had that mindset of, okay, I don't have to be the one who does everything for it to get done and for it to get done well, right? There are a lot of people that are capable of doing what you're doing, and that can free you up to focus on things that are more important for your business and are going to help serve your business better. And so I think it's really valuable for those who are listening to this who maybe aren't in that place to understand that you have to get out of the mindset that if I don't do it, it's not going to get done. Or if I don't do it, it's not going to get done right. You have to have a bigger mindset. And I'm sure you saw that in the corporate world, these executives who are doing, great things, who are doing big things, running big organizations, they're not the ones doing everything. They're making calls, they're making shots, they're the intellect and the wisdom behind big decisions, and but then they're delegating authority to other people to make those moves, if that makes sense. And so for a lot of people who are running small businesses, I think it can be hard for them to have that mindset of like, okay, other people can do that, you don't have to do it. You started to talk about marketing in bringing that up. Did you do a lot of paid advertising before you got to the place where you're running your business, or were you mostly just running your business off of word of mouth and referrals?
I did do a lot of social media. So also my journey to that arena was a bit bumpy because when I started, so Clean Club Calgary is 5 years old. We're going to be 5 years old. It's so exciting.
Mm-hmm.
January 3rd. So I was in business before that. I did a different ventures. So I did a little bit of rebrand. And by that time, I kind of knew, because once you are seasoned business owner and you know how to kind of start or rebrand again, then you're a little bit smarter, right? So I got in some people into my living room. The gentleman who helped me with my website, my business coach, the lady who was my voice, who was my writer, because I'll be honest with you, I suck at writing. And then I also had my lady who does my branding, my husband, and my office administrator. Okay. And I never forget this. I said, oh yeah, I want the website. I wanted to talk about cleaning and how fantastic the team is and da 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 da. And all these people were looking at me and they were like, we understand that, Judith, but people buy you. They don't buy your services. So what that means for you is you need to be vocal and you need to put yourself out there. And then this is what my business coach said to me, literally word for word. I never forget it. He said, Judith, I know social media is scary. Put yourself out there. In the beginning, only your mom and dad and your friends are going to be watching you and liking you and whatever. And eventually you will build an audience. And as you do this, your content, yourself, everything is going to be better and better and better. And now I am comfortable getting out on stage and talking to people or doing a podcast like this. So I think it's whatever you're not good at, source it out. Because do you want to focus on building something that you're not good at? I'm not good at writing. So therefore I have a writer. She interviews me and she writes beautiful things. And it's my voice, but she helps me. Now there's AI, but I'll be honest with you, I have a hard time giving her up because we have such a great relationship and she totally gets me. We've been working together for like 6 or 7 years now, right? So that's kind of my journey. And yes, I do paid advertising. I do it now. Now I want to shift my focus a little bit because my website is seasoned. So I want to focus a little bit more on SEO. Am I going to do that? Heck no.
Right.
I have a actual meeting tomorrow with somebody who is going to do that for me, who has experience with cleaning companies, so I'm trying to find, in like Google ad world and all these worlds, I'm trying to find people who have done successful work for other cleaning companies.
Yeah. Can you go into more detail for the person who is wanting to get, off the ladder, off the broom, all those things? Um, what for you with your marketing, what were you doing? What would you recommend somebody um, put their marketing dollars into to be able to bring in enough business to keep a team busy? Because, right, that's part of the challenge is you worry like, am I going to be able to bring in enough work to keep my employees busy? That's obviously something that we have to think about. So, what were your strategies to keep that lead flow coming in, and what should somebody wanting to get out of the field be thinking about for marketing?
I think it starts with courage. I think it starts with setting your budget, setting a generous budget for marketing, and starts with courage and trying things and then see what works. Tracking your lead sources, where do they come from? Do they come from Facebook? Do they come from Instagram? Do they come from Google? From your branding, did they see your branding on the street or your car? Or did you do an event? Are you advertising on TV? Are you trying radio? Like there's all these things, and people are like, oh, TV, radio doesn't work. Yeah, it doesn't work for me. I tried it. It doesn't work. But this is me. This is my business. For another type of business, for other type of area, it might work because, like you said, you're, for example, from Florida. We all know that Florida has a little bit more elderly a population, retiree population. So they might watch TV more. They might watch, or listen to radio more. So here, we're definitely a very young community in Calgary. So maybe not so much. So I think it's just doing your market research is also really important. Um, and when I say market research, it can sound again very daunting and very expensive, which it is if you're going to go to a firm. But you can do that in-house. You can start up somebody on the desk of your admin desk and they're not that busy yet. So you just develop your questions and you ask this person, can you call, these are a list of companies, can you call them and ask them these questions? So like sometimes I think we try to overcomplicate things because we're too much in our heads and we're too much in our business and whatnot. And there's simpler ways. And the way I know this is because I heard it from other people.
Yeah.
So I'm not as smart as I sound, but again, like just look, what are people doing? Just, don't be so much on your phone and your social media, but lift your head and look around and try to figure out what people are doing and what is working and what is not, right? And there's nothing wrong, trying something that somebody else tried and it worked for them. Absolutely nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, that's so good. I mean, the reality is you're going to try things and they're going to fail. And then I love what you said about just tracking everything because that's how you figure it out. You put money into different lead sources, you try different advertising, you try things, and part of it is tracking it, see what the success is. If it's not successful, but something else is, pull money from this bucket and put it in this one. And so tracking is really important. But I love what you also said is try what other people are doing, educate yourself. That's what this podcast is about. It's taking these, it's no secret. A lot of people are sharing this information. I would say the biggest barrier to entry is what you said, having the courage to step out and try it and know that it is going to, have a potential for failure, but you learn from that and you grow and you keep moving forward. It's, the failure isn't final. And that's something that I've learned. And I don't know if you've ever heard of Tommy Mello, but
No,
he
I
has he has a podcast called the Home Service Millionaire,
Okay.
and or sorry, Home Service Expert. And one thing that he says on his podcast all the time, people ask him, why are you giving away all your secrets? Why are you telling everybody all of this and how you do this? And he's like, because the reality is that most of the people that listen to this won't implement it. I could tell them exactly what to do. I could tell them exactly how I've been successful, but these people who are listening will not take the action steps to go out and implement it. And I can't tell you how many times I've talked to people who come to me and, they want to know about starting a business, or, they want to know what it took. And I'll say, you know, go today and do this. And then I'll follow up with them a week later and say, hey, did you do that? No, I didn't do it. Okay, well, you're not going to get the results, right? So you have to have the courage to step out and implement, take massive action. I remember I hired a business coach, and when I, got into his program for business and started looking at all the things that he had to, in place in his system for you to do, he would follow up with me, and I'd just be knocking him out, just doing everything he was saying, and he would call me, like the master implementer, because I was just implementation. So that's really good.
But can I
But
just say something? Because you
yeah.
started this with, that we're responsible for people putting food on the
Mhm.
table. So when
Yeah.
you're a business owner and that's not enough of a drive for you, I don't know what else could be. I am literally responsible for my team feeding their family, prospering in Canada. Half of my team is newcomers, you know.
Mhm.
They are struggling with so many things. So I want to take it off their plate that they don't have to struggle with work, because they're going to have work. They're going to be
Right.
able to buy that plate of meat, because we all
Mhm.
know how expensive things are nowadays, right?
Right.
And so if that's not have enough of a driver for a business owner, you really, really have to be committed, because
Mhm.
if you want to run a team. I have a team of 17 now. I'm really hoping to grow it. That's the mindset that I have to go in with, that I'm going to provide for my team. My number one customer is my team. I
Mhm.
need to make sure they're okay. They got all the tools that they need to succeed. They know who to reach if they have questions, right? How, what that process looks like, because that's, for me, that's the biggest driver. I'll be honest with you. That's the biggest driver. And as a leader, you just have to have, mindset, the book mindset. It's fantastic. You either have growth mindset or fixed mindset. And if you want to be a leader, I strongly recommend you move towards the growth mindset.
Yeah,
Letting
that's so
things
good.
go, not be a micromanager. The more you micromanage, the less happier your people are going to be, because micromanaging does not exude trust,
Mhm. Yeah, that's so
unfortunately,
good. Yeah.
right?
I,
I
I
just, sorry,
tell,
but I just wanted to say that, like, we are responsible for people putting food on the table, period.
yeah, no, that's so good. One of the things that I tell everyone who I interview and who I bring into our team, I tell them, uh, um, the reason why I'm a business owner is because it's about the people. It's about the relationships. It's about the impact that I'm able to have in people's lives by being a business owner, whether that's my in-house customers, my employees, or our customers that we're serving every day. And that's why we do things the way that we do with excellence, is because people matter. That's actually at the end of our mission statement. We do all of this because people matter. And I think it's so important that people who are wanting to get out of the field and they're wanting to be, run their business and, work on it every day, is that you have to understand that it's about the people. And when you have a mindset of, I talked to this in another about this in another episode with Christine Hodge, is that when we build a business, we're able to change people's lives. We give people that dignity of being able to have a job and work and provide for their families and put food on the table. And that's an incredible feeling, you know. I haven't been up to 17 employees. The most employees I had was 12. But even then, I think about the impact that that has, that those 12 people that work for me represent an average family size of 3 to 4 people. And that's 3 to 4 people that my business is helping to provide for. And that's something that I think small business owners should be very proud of, is that you are really the backbone of the economy is small business. And so it's definitely an incredible opportunity, but it also comes with a lot of responsibility, right? It does take that growth mindset. We have to invest in ourselves so that we can invest in people that work for us. If you could go into how you started hiring, what is that? How did that system start out? What was it like hiring your first people? What were some of the challenges that you went through, and how did, as you grew and as your business grew, how did that process evolve and get to like where it is now? Obviously, like my hiring process from when I first started to now is completely different. It's gotten better, and I'm still working on it. I'll never be satisfied. It's like prove. Talk the listeners through, what did that look like? How has it evolved over time?
So I did talk about in the beginning, I did hire family and friends, right? So, and then I also kind of reached out to the Hungarian community. I am well known in the community here. It's like the Hungarian soap opera. uh, but and that was great. I did provide opportunities for some of my family and friends, by bringing them to Canada. Obviously, living in Canada, you're in the States also, it's the American dream, Canadian American dream. You can call it whatever. So I'm really proud of that, because I did give opportunities and it did help a lot of people. We talked about this. That's my legacy. My legacy, I want it to be that I was able to help a lot of people to establish themselves in Canada, right? And then eventually I, kind of had to put in a process where, I had to do a job ad, and I reached out further. I did reach out to a lot of different ethnic communities in Calgary, because I do believe that this job is, I don't believe in career cleaners anymore, because there's no career cleaners. And you know that too. You probably see a lot of resumes. People nowadays they're changing jobs like their underwear, so it's
Mm-hmm.
really hard to, so I find with the newcomer community, they are a little bit more dedicated and they really want it to make it work. So it's a comfortable position to be in. I have a cleaner job. It provides food. I work 9 to 5. I can, work on my English, take evening classes and whatnot. I can spend time with my family, because I'm not being, kind of taken advantage of, giving really different shifts and whatnot. So it's for moms, it's really perfect. And then so I use nowadays how it evolved, and there were a lot of hurdles along the way, and there's still hurdles. And I think because the world is always changing, you have to be keeping up with those changes. But I do advertise on Indeed now. Always be advertising, even if because you never know who might end up, quitting, for whom it's not the right place. And it's a high turnover job. Service jobs are usually a high turnover, unless you're, like an electrician or plumber, because, they tend to stay with a good company, right? And then we kind of developed a system where, we wean them out on Indeed. We have some qualifying questions. If they respond to those, great. We engage more conversation. Can we set up a phone interview? We go through, we're very honest. And if I can say this about hiring, is do not try to portray yourself as one of the best in your field. Because if that's what they think, and you cannot meet that expectation, they're not going to be happy and they're going to leave.
That's
So
so good.
things that we talk about is like, it's physical work. Are you ready for that? You don't have to buy a membership, a gym membership, that's for sure. So you save a lot of money there, but it's hard physical work. Another thing is, are you okay with winter driving? We have like 6 months of winter here, and sometimes it can get really awful. So we already are setting the expectation that yes, you're going to have to drive a lot, and yes, we're going to go from one end of the city to the other. Okay, because that's the business. We're not that big yet, with regular customers, that we can guarantee that you're going to be working in your area. And
Yeah.
also, like, a lot of cities has that area that is not very profitable because it's low income housing. And unfortunately, some of my cleaners live there. So I cannot guarantee that you walk out of your house and you walk in next door and you're going to clean that house, because those are low income and they cannot afford cleaning. Right. So we're really honest about these things, and we're really honest about our struggles. And we tell them, yes, we will get last minute cancellations. How do we try to avoid that? Is we have a cancellation policy. But you might just have one job because all of a sudden the afternoon got canceled. So, and then, not to promise like exact 40 hours a week. Cleaning business does not work like that. So that's how we did it. And then we invite them for an interview. And if their background checks out, if their references check out, then we make them an offer. And then sometimes they don't accept the offer, right? So you have to be ready for that, right? We have had, like, we started 3 people in one day and only 2 showed up, right? So you also have to be thinking about that nowadays. Is Sorry, I don't know if it happens in the States. It does happen in Canada. People are becoming a little flaky,
Yeah.
and they have
Absolutely.
really hard time telling you no. It's like,
Mhm.
thank you so much for the opportunity, but it's a no for me. That's all they got to say. And they have not wasted the time of a small business who
Mhm.
is, working through an offer, waiting for you answer, texting you, did you get it? Da, 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 right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of our hiring process. Is it perfect? Absolutely not. It's a work in progress. And I really do think that every process nowadays is a work in progress.
Yeah. I love what you said about being honest and upfront. And I actually had to learn that the hard way.
Oh,
Because yeah, I I would think like, okay, the only way for me to attract great people is if I paint this picture that I have it all together and my business is so wonderful and it's going to be the most incredible experience. And I would promise things, and there was no ill intent. I had 100%, um, you know, intention of trying to be able to accomplish those things. But as a small business owner, things don't always go the way that we want them to. So then when you're not able to deliver on those promises that you make, that is actually worse than if you would have never offered it at all. And
it's
so
like a
what I,
relationship. It's
yeah,
like a
yeah,
relationship. If you're being offered too much, you expect that in a relationship, and then you
yeah,
don't get it. And you're like, what did I get myself into?
yeah, yeah. So I tell people who ask me about hiring now, is I say, just be honest. Don't try to paint a picture that you're something that you're not, and tell people exactly where you are, share with them, some of the struggles of where you're at and how you want to invite them to be a part of that solution, help grow and be a part of it. But don't try to paint this picture that those challenges aren't there. And so I learned that the hard way. And then when I hired some of my guys that I have on my team now, they are incredible employees. They're more committed to the mission of what we're doing, and they feel more a part of it. And there's a better connection there. There's a better fit as far as the culture goes, because I didn't offer them something that was like so extravagant and then not deliver on it. And that's something that I tell them all the time. It's like, I don't want to promise you something that I don't have the confidence that I can do. Now, I go above and beyond for my employees every chance I can. So if I have the opportunity to show up on a job site unexpectedly and give everybody a $100, $200 cash, tip and say, hey, thank you so much for what you do. They really appreciate that, but I don't paint this picture that that's like expected all the time. Does that make sense? Because I can't do
I
that all
agree
the
with
time.
you. Yeah, I agree with you. Absolutely agree with you on that. You cannot, they cannot expect that. It's just, it's a gift, right? And then if you have it, you give it, right?
Yeah. And I love doing that. I mean, like we said, it's about the people for me. So when I have those opportunities and when everything's going really well, I'm gonna step out and go above and beyond for them. But when I can't, they also understand that. And I have some really amazing guys right now that work for me and just have great attitudes, and they really appreciate when the opportunity is there to go above and beyond. But it's a different attitude. It's not expected. It's more appreciated, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Um, Go into for me. What is your process for like when you bring new people on board? um, what is your process for onboarding, training? How do you get these people in? And what tips or advice would you give to those who are wanting to make their first hire and get people on board?
So, we have evolved, right? I used to train, but now I have trainers, right? One thing I also want to say about like a little bit about micromanaging that ties into all this is that if you find some people who can do the job 80% as good as you can, that should be good enough, because you cannot expect people to be 100% like you, right? So for our training, so we make them the offer. And then if they accept the offer, we send them a follow-up email saying what to expect, what programs to download on their phones and things like that. And then they come in the first day. We have a 5-day training plan, okay? Because I talk to a lot of other cleaning business owners. I'm in a lot of Facebook groups and things like that. And some people do like 3 months, and like just think of it like you're not making any money if you are investing that much time into somebody. It has to be quick and easy as much as it can be, right? And then so they come in the first day. We have, they sign all their paperwork. We go through the HR manual, how to request holidays, all the minor details, things like that. And then they watch our training videos. So we have created training videos. And then on Tuesday, for the rest of the week, they are out in the field with the trainer. We tell our trainers, you have full power. If you don't think that person is good for us, and we do have checklists. So the trainer completes 2 checklists every day for 5 days, like about their attitude. We rate them, A, B, C, D, F, were they on time? If they were not on time, fail, right? Things like that. So I think implementing these type of like checklists, it's really good, especially when you're training, because then you're not missing anything. And just so we talked about work in progress, we actually just rejigged it because we found that we were introducing all these new programs that we use really quickly, and they were really confused. So we divided it now over 5 days. How we introduced, like we use Slack, how to park, we use quality driven for reviews, of course Jobber, so it's a bit can get overwhelming. And then by Wednesday, we know if that person is the right person on the job. So if they are really, not good, then, we right away wash our hands. We're not going to waste any more time, money, efforts, nothing like that. By Friday, they are expected to clean the house on their own. And then on Monday, they get their schedule and they are with other team members or maybe with the trainer still, depending on the schedule, depending what area they are in, depending, what jobs we have and things like that. So that's our training process. We use Trainual. It's a
Hmm.
fantastic program because it's not only for the field, but also for my office, for my supervisor. We've got each modules, and that's the challenge for me, because we're talking about no perfection here, right? The challenge for me is the constant update, I'll be honest with you. And because I am the owner, I know everything. It is really, really hard to keep on top of those. So, but that's part of my job. So the way I do it is I do have a weekly reminder, a task in Jobber, because we use Jobber for that too. And every week I go back and I do a certain module. I go through it. I make sure everything's okay, everything's up to date. Nothing has changed. So that's kind of how we do it. It seems to work. We ask feedback after the training is done from the trainee and the trainer. And usually the feedback is pretty good from the trainees. So we haven't had anything, really concerning yet about it.
Nice. I love that you talked about that checklist. I've actually never heard that before, but I love that you have that implemented so that the person who is training is essentially scoring that person on their progress. And that's awesome. That's something that I'll have to get implemented in my own business. I love
And
that.
it's not only scoring, but each day, like what they have
Yeah,
to do. So it's nothing gets forgotten, right?
right.
Because that's the worst thing. I think it's like a trainee is thrown to the wolves, the next week. Go clean on your own. And then they're
Yeah,
like, I wasn't shown this. So even like
yeah.
this, you get that because, nowadays it's like training, it's like 51st dates. The movie 51st dates, right? You have to, and that's another thing as a business owner, as a trainer, as a leader, you have to be okay with repeating yourself, not to get frustrated, because that's unfortunately where we're heading. People have really short attention nowadays. Sometimes even they come into the meeting or biweekly meeting, you feed them, even though you feed them, they're like, I don't know what was said. So we follow up. We follow up with like notes, like literally meeting minutes, every meeting, this is what we discussed. So they can read it, on their own leisure and refer back to it.
Yeah, that's really good. That there was a lot of value in everything that you shared there with your process. I'd love to maybe at another time talk about Trainio because I've definitely looked at that. But I do want to because you brought up Jobber. Obviously, we both use Jobber, and I've been now a brand ambassador for them for a little bit. Can you go into how you're using Jobber for your business? What are some of the features that you're using that you find most helpful? Obviously, there's going to be, I've definitely found that there are nuances between different trades and how they utilize Jobber, and how that might determine what features you use. But yeah, just kind of unpack what that looks like for the listeners and what you think about Jobber. Has it suited you guys well? Do you like it?
So I've been using Jobber since 2015. I absolutely love it. I love that you're a brand ambassador. How can I be one? Please
Out.
share.
I can
um,
definitely talk to you more about that.
okay. So the way we use I think for the listeners, it's super important to two things. I have talked to people like Jobber doesn't work for me, blah, 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 blah. Nothing will work for you if that's your mindset. And then when implementing a new program, you really have to put yourself there, and you really have to, it makes or breaks the success of implementation, how the owner handles things and how the owner is, friendly with that program. So it's customizable. That's the other thing, that you can totally customize it to your business. And we do a lot of things, color coding, so what do I don't love about Jobber? Very few things. And that's also for the listener, no program is gonna be perfect. If
Yeah.
it's 80% serving to what you need, that's an amazing program. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So we use it, obviously I love like just small things, like I'm able to send a request to the customer to upload their credit card information, because we will not go out to a job without credit card on file, period. So as you're growing your business, you need to be, very much looking at that how you're getting paid. And I hear a lot of people like, oh my God, credit card fees are so high and blah, blah, blah. Build it into your pricing. It's a cost of running business, but I have constant cash flow. I have no issue with cash flow, because it's always, the money is always coming in. So just think about how much you have to hound people, where, with Jobber, I get paid right away. The checklist that I had mentioned, that's all in Jobber. So we set up a job and we attach the checklist for the trainee to it. So we actually set up a job for training, and then we attach it. We download the PDF. It's a beautiful PDF that it creates, and then we upload it to Bamboo HR, because that's our HR program. I love the reminders. So, for a customer, when you're really trying to hone in on your schedule and you're really trying to make sure that your team has jobs, that starts with the reminders, because the customer, gets the reminder and they're like, oh, okay, I'm going to confirm the job. So, that you can go out there and there's no issues. It cuts down on your time of chasing people. Did you get the reminder? Are we okay to go there? When can we be there? Blah, blah. Can you imagine that, doing by phone or by email? Boom,
Right.
sends it out for you, right? The schedule itself, my team loves it. We use the timesheets. So again, for payroll, it's exactly in there what you need, and you download your report, and then you do your payroll. I do my own payroll. So that really works for me. Just anybody that I hired into an office admin position, they tell me how easy and how friendly it is to use it. So I think that's a super important thing, especially when you're training somebody new, because it really cuts down, they get it really quickly how the program works. I like the ease that, you schedule a quote, you convert that quote into an actual quote that you send into the customer, then you convert it into the job, and then you do the invoice, and then you do the receipt. So it's all seamless. It's like linear for me when I when
Yeah.
I think about it, right? And I can always just kind of look back, I love the tipping option, because customers will tip, and then you put
Mm-hmm.
it out there, and we put it out there, and in the first year, I think we had like $12,000 in tips.
Wow.
It's an
Right.
insane amount when
Yeah.
look at it. So again, if you're a business owner and you just want to have a perk for your cleaner, painter, whatever that is, we tell them we get tips. 100% of the tips is yours. If you're working with somebody, then it's going to be divided by how many hours you were on the job, because
Yeah.
sometimes we do get people who just spend 2 hours on the job and somebody spends 8 hours on the job. So we kind of divide it accordingly, right? So there's a system for that. I really like the integration with QuickBooks. Sometimes it can get a little bit glitchy, but again, how you use it and how you educate yourself and how you prepare yourself for the actual integration. And I think the support is amazing for that, Jobber support. Yeah, so do you want me to go on?
No, that's really good. Let's unpack some things here. So, obviously, when I think about Jobber, the whole point of it is to make your business organized and efficient.
Yeah.
Now, if you are going to get out of the field, get out off the broom, get off the ladder, you need to have your operations organized and efficient, because when you bring team members in, you are going to have a major headache. Their lives are not going to be as great if you have a lot of chaos and unorganization. And not only that, you're creating more work for everybody when you aren't organized and efficient. So the
Yeah,
way I look at it,
can I add one thing in there that you just touched on
yeah,
is
absolutely.
so many times I hire and I hire from my industry. So somebody who's been cleaning for another company and they're like,
Mhm.
I never knew what my schedule was.
Yeah.
Boom. Jobber, you have your schedule. Like we have it 2 weeks out. That's our business model because we have biweekly staff meeting and then we go through the schedule. But
Yeah.
but it gives job security to your team. They're like, oh,
Mhm.
this business owner is very organized. I like this. I know what's
Right.
upcoming. And don't people like to know what's coming up? They do.
Yeah. 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 I've
So
heard
sorry, I
similar.
just wanted to put that out. That's a huge plus.
Yeah, yeah, I've had similar feedback when guys have come in and they've worked for me. That's one compliment that we often get is, "Wow, I love that you use Jobber because, like you said, I can see you actually have work for me. I'm
Yeah.
not going to be wondering if I can get my hours, if I'm gonna, have that opportunity to make money." But there's so many other features within Jobber that make the experience better for our employees as well. Like I remember one of my guys, he came on from another local company. He's like, we used to just we would wake up in the morning and we wouldn't know where we're supposed to go, and the we'd be waiting for a text message from our boss to say, hey, go to this address. And he was like, even sometimes because our boss would lose the address or something, he would be giving us like directions to the job, like, oh, go down past so and so restaurant, turn left, turn right on so and so street, and it's the red mailbox. And then with Jobber, we put the job on the schedule. The guys can see the job. They can click on it, and there's the address, the customer's contact information. Everything is there for them, so there's no guesswork, and it makes everything just so much easier for everybody. So, obviously, for somebody who is wanting to make that jump, but they're wondering, can I afford it? What would your response be to that? Because I remember when I was first looking at Jobber, I was like, wow, that's a good little chunk of money. I don't know which tier you're on, but I'm on the Grow plan. And I was like, okay, that's a good little chunk of money there. Is this really worth it? Do I really need it? What would you say to that person and who may be questioning whether they should have these softwares and systems in place?
Well, I think it's just having a good open dialogue with some open-ended questions about what they do now and what is frustrating them now and how Jobber can solve that frustration. That would be number one. When it comes to money, the way I did it when so I paid in the beginning, I paid like 120 US, I think, but this is 2015. I was like, you know what? That's one clean.
Right. Yeah.
That's one clean. Because, I charge, let's say, 140 or $180 Canadian. So with the exchange rate, right? So that is one house. So that was like and at that time, actually one cleaning, one visit. And in 2015, I already had like maybe 250 visits per month, right? So out of 250 is just one visit. I needed it. And I was using a different software before, and they are probably not even around anymore. And I paid $80 Canadian per user. And at the time, I think I had 5 or 6, maybe 7 people already. Right. So again, like my thing, it's I never, when I invest in any kind of technology software, I don't ever look at the price. I look at how is this going to serve me? How is this going to make my life easier? How is this going to make my team's life easier? And let's be honest, technology is the way. That's where the world is going to. Unfortunately, our grandparents are dying out who are not comfortable with technology. Nowadays, everybody's on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. That's technology. You're already using it, right? And Jobber is just as friendly. You know what I mean? Like it's just so user friendly. It's so easy to learn. I do have somebody, I'm actually a coach, and I coach small business owners. And I do have one friend. I haven't started coaching her, but she started with me when she came to Canada, and now she has her own business. And she's that person that she's on the fence all the time about Jobber. And we had to have the conversation. It's you. It's not the program. It's not, you're scared. You don't know how to use technology. So maybe you need to invest somebody in somebody, an admin person who can do that for you. And then also when we're talking about admin, just remember VAs. There's some really cheap VAs out there from the Philippines, from South America and whatnot. I'm ashamed to say this, but I have somebody from the Philippines, $500 Canadian a month, full time.
Mhm. Wow.
I mean,
Well, I mean, for them though, that could be a huge blessing, so keep
and
things
you
in
can,
perspective there.
yeah, you can advertise for that. So sometimes people ask me, okay, how did you get your VA? I advertised in the Philippines on Indeed. And, if you're struggling with jobbers, say must have jobber experience. You find somebody like that, they're going to take you to the freaking next level,
Yeah, yeah.
you
I
know?
I love what you're saying about Jobber, how it's usually the user, because there's actually a lot of people that I found who they'll complain about, oh well, Jobber is not working for me, and they don't realize all of the different things that they're not using, the features, they don't know how to use the software, so they think that it's the software, but really it's them. And I actually I don't know if you've heard of Janine Chambers. She's pretty active in the Jobber entrepreneurship group on Facebook, but she's incredible with that, like helping people like realize, hey, it's probably you not really knowing what you need to know about the software or knowing how to use it. The software is incredible. And so, yeah, I totally agree there that people just need to really understand how it works and how it can serve them.
Oh, yeah,
Um,
absolutely. Yeah.
well, that there's a lot of great value that you've been able to bring today. We're going to start to wrap this up and bring it to a conclusion. What I would want to say is, what kind of last thoughts would you want to share? What kind of, hold on one second. What kind of final thoughts would you want to share on any of the topics we covered, marketing, sales, leadership, to really help those business owners who are wanting to get out of the field and run their business?
I think I share them all, to be honest with you, but one big one for me, personally, was to trust people, and to trust that they can get the job done, and to remember that it starts with you. Like, how do you set up the expectations? How do you set up your own boundaries as well? And just being kind, and having that coach mindset. I know this. I'm going to give it over to you, and then I'm sure you're going to do it even better than I did. So that mindset, because that's how you're going to move off the ladder, off the broom. Is just having that open mindset, trusting people that they can do it. Having it in place, PIP, performance improvement plan. If it's not to your liking, and listening to your gut. We forget to listen to our gut with everything. Every decision, every person that works with you. What is your gut telling you? Listen to it. It's right. 99.9% of the time. So that's what I would say.
That's really good. So what I hear you saying is trust others, but also trust yourself. You have to trust that you have what it takes, that you know what you're doing, and be confident, and then take action.
Yeah.
A lot of really great value today. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing with our audience. If you are a cleaning business owner and you're looking for someone to talk with and get more experience from, definitely reach out to Judith. Judith, could you share what is the best way for somebody to get in contact with you, connect with you, and have a conversation with you?
I'm definitely on LinkedIn, very active on LinkedIn because my commercial clients are there. And also Facebook, Clean Club Calgary, Instagram, Clean Club Calgary, and just put into Google Clean Club Calgary and we're going to come up everywhere. Our website, phone number 403-973-CLUB. The number. So yeah, we're kind of everywhere. And I'm really happy to talk to anybody who is thinking of starting a business or already is in business or struggling and whatnot, and just share what I've done. I don't want to give advice, but some stuff that I've done worked really well, and some that I did, it didn't work really well.
That's awesome. Well, I think we can all learn from each other, and that's the value, in connecting and reaching out to others who are doing what we're doing and learning from one another. Thank you again for being on here. Hopefully, we can get you on here again at some point and dive deeper into some of these topics. For those of you who are watching, please like this. Subscribe to our YouTube channel as well as the podcast on Apple Podcasts. Share it with somebody so that they can get this awesome information as well. And we'll see you next time on the Off the Ladder podcast.